Jacob stumbled upon a strange sight in the midst of his cornfield. Within a small burrow, he noticed a curious batch of eggs. He got a strange feeling as he reached down to examine his strange find. He didn't recognize the distinct shape or texture of the eggs. Without delay, Jacob hastily dialed the number of the local veterinarian, hoping for answers regarding his discovery. He did not know he would get more than he bargained for. "Good morning, the Green Veterinary Office speaking. What can I help you with?" the voice on the phone said as soon as they picked up. Jacob felt at a loss for words. How could he explain this phenomenon? Plus, the fact that this animal had nestled in his cornfield no less, he had never seen this before in his life. As soon as he gave the woman of the veterinary office his lengthy explanation, a silence hung in the air between them. "Are you certain, sir? Are you certain that they are that kind of eggs?" Jacob reminded himself of a childhood memory of seeing eggs like this. "I'm certain," he stated. "Animal control is on their way," the woman said. She also understood what this could mean, and they knew that it couldn't be good. Still, Jacob couldn't help but wonder. How had the eggs ended up here? Where had the mother gone? And most importantly, what would happen if they hatched in his cornfield? Jacob had never thought of becoming anything other than a farmer. It had been something ingrained into him ever since he was a child. His father had been a farmer, as had his grandfather. It had been why there had been no exaggeration in his statement that he had never seen something like this in his career. He had been going through his massive cornfield, checking if his crops were ready for harvest. He knew he didn't want to harvest if they weren't ready. He encountered many things during his weekly stroll over the years to see how his lands and crops fared. Yet nothing ever seemed to come close to this. He had to move various birds' nests and flatten molehills, and he had even once gotten rid of a wasp nest, but never had he seen something like this. It had been the reason why he had almost fallen over, his face nearly hitting the ground due to the sudden change of terrain, and worse, he had almost destroyed them. There had been a small burrow that he hadn't seen that had made him lose his footing. When his eyes fell on the curious batch of eggs, he had taken an extra long step, ensuring he wouldn't crush them. Though no animal should be living in his crops, that didn't mean that he wanted to destroy the nests and eggs. However, he couldn't help but ask the question, what animal could have possibly laid its eggs here? Due to his tripping, he now sat next to the small burrow. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that a few eggs had been broken, its contents gone. Maybe these eggs shouldn't have even been in a burrow. Maybe another animal had dug them up, exposing them to the air. Jacob couldn't wrap his head around it, though he recognized the eggs. They weren't typical eggs, and he had surely never seen them before on his farm. But a memory began to tingle in his mind, something of his childhood. He remembered the memory fondly. It had been the last time he had gone with his grandparents to the zoo, and he had been so enamored with the creatures. Could those animals have laid eggs on his farmland? Though his memory could have failed him, it was stark in his mind. He remembered his pop-up pointing at a picture on the wall of what the eggs would look like. Though Jacob knew memory could be faulty, he was 99% certain. Because of that, he immediately knew what to do about it, so he grabbed his phone. Due to the animals that often lived on his farm, Jacob had the number of the Green Veterinary Office saved in his phone. As he dialed it, he patiently waited for Vanessa to pick up the phone. She usually was the young woman to answer the phone. How could he even explain this all to her? Would they even believe him? Vanessa answered as her cheery voice recited the office's usual line. "Good morning, the Green Veterinary Office speaking. What can I help you with?" Jacob rasped his throat before speaking. "Hey Vanessa, Jacob speaking. I know I've called you guys about animal things before, but I have literally stumbled upon something rather strange." As Jacob told Vanessa his speculations, she remained silent, patiently listening to his story. "You are absolutely sure about this?" she asked, a slight tremor suddenly in her voice as she spoke. Jacob nodded, forgetting that she couldn't see him. "Yes. As far as I know, I am absolutely sure that they are that type of egg." Jacob could hear Vanessa gulp through the phone. He heard a murmur between her and someone else. She had probably muffled the microphone as she spoke to someone close to her. "Jacob, we will be by your farm shortly. Please remain with the eggs. We don't want to leave them unguarded, and your being there will scare off most predators. Give us 15 minutes." Jacob hoped their coming here would finally give him the clarity he needed. Luckily, Jacob didn't have to wait long as he heard the car drive on his property. Knowing that the cornfield hid him from the people who were now standing in his front yard, he raised the hoe he had brought with him to signal them where he was. He glanced at the eggs in his soil, not knowing that the trouble had only now started. In the early hours of the morning, as dew still clung to the blades of corn, Jacob watched the vet, Dr. Morgan, make urgent phone calls. His voice, usually calm and measured, carried a note of urgency that echoed across the farm. Jacob, standing a respectful distance away, tried to piece together the conversation. "Yes, it's quite unusual." "No, I've never seen anything quite like it," Dr. Morgan spoke into the phone. He was calling Dr. Lisa Hammond, a renowned local wildlife expert known for her work with rare species. Jacob's heart raced with anticipation. He had always known his land held secrets, but never something like this. By mid-morning, Dr. Hammond arrived in a flurry of activity, her jeep kicking up dust as it sped towards the cornfield. She was a whirlwind of energy, her eyes immediately locking onto the mysterious eggs. With gloves donned, she carefully examined each one, murmuring observations to Dr. Morgan. They discussed possibilities, from rare bird species to unknown reptilian life. Jacob lingered nearby, trying to catch snippets of their conversation. The eggs, with their unique colour and texture, seemed to fascinate Dr. Hammond as much as they did him. The afternoon sun cast long shadows over the field as Dr. Hammond brought out specialised equipment. A portable ultrasound machine hummed to life, its screen flickering with images of the eggs. Jacob watched, fascinated, as the experts huddled around the display, pointing and discussing findings that were beyond his understanding. They measured, probed, and noted down observations, their expressions a mix of scientific excitement and deep concentration. Jacob's curiosity grew with each passing moment, the mystery of the eggs becoming more profound. As the day waned, theories abounded among the gathered experts. Dr. Morgan speculated about a migratory bird perhaps blown off course, while Dr. Hammond pondered the possibility of an undiscovered native species. They debated environmental factors and historical precedents, their voices a blend of excitement and professional skepticism. Jacob, overhearing fragments of their conversation, felt a thrill run through him. The possibilities seemed endless, each more intriguing than the last. His own theories began to form, each wilder than the next. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the cornfield in a golden hue. The experts' conversation turned more technical, discussing genetic markers and habitat conditions. Jacob's mind raced with questions. What were these eggs? Why here, in his cornfield? The mystery enveloped him, drawing him deeper into a world he barely understood, but was eager to explore. As night fell, the eggs lay there, an enigma wrapped in the quiet of the farm, fueling Jacob's growing curiosity. Early the next morning, the tranquility of the farm was shattered by the arrival of the local media. News vans with bold logos parked haphazardly near the field, their cameras and microphones at the ready. Reporters, eager for a story, descended on the farm, their questions like a barrage. Jacob, caught off guard, watched as his quiet farm transformed into a buzzing hub of activity. Dr. Morgan and Dr. Hammond exchanged concerned glances. The discovery was no longer a quiet affair. The reporters wasted no time. Their stories painted vivid pictures of the discovery, each more sensational than the last. "Mystery in the cornfield. Farmer's shocking find," one headline read. Another speculated about alien life forms, while another suggested a long-lost species reborn. The farm buzzed with theories and conjectures, the air thick with excitement and wild guesses. Jacob, standing amidst the chaos, felt a mix of pride and apprehension as his farm became the centre of wild speculations. Word of Jacob's discovery spread like wildfire through the community. Neighbours and locals gathered, speculating amongst themselves. Some suggested the eggs were remnants of a bygone era, perhaps dinosaurs, while others whimsically proposed they were dragon eggs. Each theory was more imaginative than the last, and the crowd grew. Jacob listened, amused and bewildered by the array of theories. His farm, once a place of solitude, had become a nexus of community intrigue and folklore. As the day progressed, Jacob's feelings oscillated between pride and unease. His farm, always a source of personal pride, was now under the spotlight for a reason he couldn't have imagined. He appreciated the attention, but worried about the impact on his crops and the tranquility of his life. The constant presence of cameras and strangers was a stark contrast to his usual solitude. Amidst the frenzy, Jacob found himself longing for the quiet days before the discovery. By the end of the week, the story had reached fever pitch. More media outlets arrived, each vying for the most dramatic angle on the story. Drones buzzed overhead, capturing aerial views of the farm, and interviews were broadcast live, with experts weighing in from afar. Jacob's farm had become a national sensation, the eggs a mysterious symbol sparking endless debate and fascination. Amidst the whirlwind of attention, Jacob stood at the heart of it all, the accidental guardian of a mystery that had captivated a nation. The arrival of representatives from the local university marked a new chapter in the saga. They approached Jacob with a formal proposal, their interest in the eggs purely scientific. They spoke of research, potential discoveries, and the advancement of knowledge. The possibility of the eggs contributing to science intrigued Jacob, but he was wary. His farm was his livelihood, and the thought of it turning into a research site was daunting. Soon after, an environmental group reached out to Jacob. They emphasized the ecological importance of the eggs, advocating for their protection. Their passionate pleas about conservation and the potential impact on local biodiversity resonated with Jacob. He had always been a steward of the land, and the idea of contributing to environmental preservation appealed to him. Yet he felt torn, unsure if their approach was the right one for his farm and the mysterious eggs. Jacob found himself at a crossroads, weighed down by the conflicting advice and proposals he received. The university's scientific curiosity clashed with the environmental group's protective stance. His own desires to maintain the farm's normalcy added to the complexity. Sleepless nights followed as Jacob pondered over the right decision. Each option had its merits and consequences, and the responsibility of the choice weighed heavily on him. The situation at the farm grew tense as various groups began to lobby more aggressively for their interests. Debates and arguments became frequent, with each party trying to persuade Jacob to their side. The media added fuel to the fire, broadcasting these tensions and drawing even more attention to the farm. Jacob felt like he was caught in the middle of a storm, each gust pulling him in a different direction. Amidst the cacophony of voices and opinions, Jacob knew he had to make a decision. He considered the potential scientific breakthroughs, the environmental impact, and most importantly, the future of his farm. His heritage, his connection to the land, and his responsibility towards the mysterious discovery all played a role in his contemplation. It was a decision that would not only affect the eggs, but also the course of his life and legacy. The tranquility of the night was shattered when Jacob noticed shadowy figures near the farm. The sight of them skulking in the darkness sent a chill down his spine. The possibility of poaching or theft became a real concern. With the value of the eggs now widely known, the risk of them being stolen had increased. Jacob knew he couldn't take any chances. The safety of the eggs had become his priority. Determined to protect the eggs, Jacob set about fortifying the farm. He installed additional lights, surveillance cameras, and even a new fence line. He reached out to local security firms for advice and assistance. The farm, once open and welcoming, started to resemble a guarded fortress. Jacob understood the necessity of these measures, but he couldn't help feeling a sense of loss for the simplicity his farm once held. The heightened security measures soon proved justified. More suspicious figures were spotted lurking near the farm's boundaries. Their presence suggested a growing interest from illegal trade syndicates drawn by the allure of the mysterious eggs. Jacob's farm had become a target for those seeking to exploit his discovery for their gain. The situation was escalating, and Jacob felt the pressure mounting. Jacob transformed into a vigilant guardian of his land. He patrolled the farm at all hours, keeping a watchful eye for any unusual activity. His days were consumed by the need to protect the eggs, his nights restless with concern. The farmer who once peacefully harvested his crops was now a sentry, guarding a treasure that had brought both wonder and worry to his life. One night, Jacob's fears nearly materialized. He spotted a group attempting to breach the farm's perimeter. Quick action and the newly installed security measures thwarted their attempt. The close call was a stark reminder of the constant danger looming over the eggs. It reinforced Jacob's resolve to maintain high vigilance, ensuring the safety of the mysterious discovery that had changed his life so profoundly. Jacob's day began with a daunting legal notice delivered by a stern-faced official. Authorities, alongside conservation groups, demanded the relocation of the eggs for study and protection. The document was cold and formal, its words echoing a sense of finality. Jacob felt a deep sense of injustice. These eggs, found on his land, had become a part of his life, and the thought of them being taken away struck a chord in his heart. Determined to fight for the eggs, Jacob sought legal counsel. He met with a seasoned lawyer, Miss Evelyn Briggs, who specialized in property and environmental law. She listened intently to Jacob's story, her eyes reflecting a mix of concern and determination. As they discussed legal strategies and rights, Jacob found a glimmer of hope. Ms. Briggs promised to do everything in her power to help him keep the eggs on his farm. Word of Jacob's legal plight spread, and the local community rallied to his side. Neighbours, friends, and even strangers came forward, offering support in various forms. Some organised fundraisers, while others started petitions. The community's response was overwhelming, their actions speaking volumes of their respect for Jacob and his cause. Their solidarity gave Jacob strength, reminding him that he was not alone in this fight. A crucial victory came when the court granted a temporary injunction against the removal of the eggs. The ruling provided Jacob a much-needed respite, though it was only a temporary measure. Ms. Briggs cautioned him that this was just the beginning of a longer legal battle. Jacob left the courthouse with mixed feelings, relief that he had won this round, but apprehension about the challenges still to come. Despite the temporary legal reprieve, Jacob knew the battle was far from over. He spent long hours with Miss Briggs, planning their next steps and preparing for future hearings. The fight had become more than just about the eggs. It was about standing up for what he believed was right. Jacob was determined to see this through, no matter how long or challenging the road ahead might be. One morning, Jacob's routine patrol around the farm revealed alarming signs of a break-in attempt. Footprints, unfamiliar and hastily covered, led towards the cornfield where the eggs were nestled. The sight sent a wave of anger and fear through Jacob. The eggs, now known to the world, had attracted more than just media and environmentalists. They had also drawn the attention of those with less noble intentions. The break-in attempt was thwarted, thanks to Jacob's heightened security measures and his swift response. He managed to scare off the intruders before they could reach the eggs. The incident, however, added to the ongoing drama surrounding the farm. Jacob's resolve to protect the eggs hardened further. He knew that the eggs were not just a rare discovery, but also a responsibility he had to shoulder. The news of the attempted theft sparked a stronger wave of support from the community. People from all walks of life came forward, some offering to keep watch, others bringing supplies to reinforce the farm's defences. The incident had rallied the community around Jacob's cause, uniting them in a common goal to protect the mysterious eggs and support the farmer who had become their guardian. Following the break-in attempt, law enforcement became more actively involved. Officers patrolled the area and detectives visited the farm to investigate. The presence of law enforcement added a new layer of complexity to the situation. Jacob cooperated fully, though he felt a growing unease about the increasing intrusion into his once peaceful life. The farm, a haven of solitude and hard work, had become the center of an ever-expanding saga. In response to the escalating threats, Jacob took further steps to reinforce the farm's defenses. He installed additional security cameras, motion sensors, and even considered hiring private security. Every new measure was a reminder of how much had changed since the discovery of the eggs. Jacob, once a simple farmer, had transformed into a vigilant protector, his every waking moment devoted to safeguarding the precious discovery that had altered the course of his life. The story of Jacob's farm and the mysterious eggs exploded onto the national stage. Major news networks ran features, each adding their flair to the narrative. The eggs, once a local curiosity, became a subject of national debate. For Jacob, this escalation was both awe-inspiring and daunting. His farm, his life's work, was now under the microscope of the entire country, bringing a level of attention he had never imagined. With national attention came an overwhelming influx of reporters and curiosity seekers. Cars lined the roads leading to Jacob's farm, and people armed with cameras and questions swarmed the property. They clamored for a glimpse of the eggs, each person eager to be part of the unfolding story. Jacob watched as his once quiet farm became a bustling hotspot, the tranquility of rural life replaced by a constant hum of activity. As the media frenzy intensified, Jacob's privacy dwindled. Reporters camped at the farm's edges, drones buzzed overhead, and every move he made seemed to be under scrutiny. His once simple routines turned into a spectacle, his actions dissected and discussed by strangers. The invasion of his privacy weighed heavily on him, the constant presence of cameras and microphones serving as stark reminders of his lost solitude. The surge of visitors to the farm presented new security challenges. Jacob found himself not just protecting the eggs from potential threats, but also managing the crowds that gathered daily. He installed barriers and signs, directing traffic and people away from sensitive areas. Every new measure was a balancing act between ensuring the safety of the eggs and maintaining order amidst the growing chaos. In the midst of this unprecedented media attention, Jacob felt like he was in the eye of a storm. His every decision, every action was scrutinized, debated, and often criticized. Amidst this chaos, his primary focus remained on protecting the mysterious eggs. The farm had become a stage for a drama much larger than himself, and Jacob stood at its center, determined yet overwhelmed. A turning point came when a well-known environmental activist visited the farm. She spoke passionately about the importance of protecting the eggs, framing them as a symbol of nature's fragility and wonder. Her words resonated with the public, her appeal broadcasted widely. Her influence was palpable, and her message began to shift the narrative, drawing attention to the ecological significance of Jacob's discovery. Inspired by the activist's words, a large-scale peaceful protest was organized at the farm. People from all walks of life gathered, holding signs and voicing their support for protecting the eggs. The protest was peaceful yet powerful, capturing significant media coverage. The sea of supporters on his land moved Jacob deeply, their collective voice a stark contrast to the earlier frenzy of speculation and intrusion. The protest and the activists' compelling arguments began to sway public opinion in Jacob's favor. The narrative shifted from one of curiosity and speculation to a story of conservation and community. People started to see the eggs not just as a bizarre discovery, but as a precious part of the natural world deserving protection. This shift in perception was a beacon of hope for Jacob amid the ongoing legal and media battles. As public opinion shifted, the local community's support for Jacob solidified. They rallied behind him, not just as neighbours, but as a united front against the authorities and outside interests. This unity bolstered Jacob's resolve. The community's backing gave him a sense of strength and purpose, reinforcing his determination to protect the eggs and stand up for his rights as a farmer and steward of the land. With the growing support from the public and the community, Jacob gained significant leverage in his dealings with the authorities. His position, once precarious and defensive, now had the backing of a broad and vocal public. This support gave him a stronger hand in legal negotiations and dealings with conservation groups. For Jacob, this leverage was more than a strategic advantage. It was a testament to the power of community and shared values. The air was thick with anticipation as the first signs of hatching appeared. Jacob, along with a gathered crowd of supporters, experts and media, watched in silent awe. The cracks in the eggs grew, a symbol of the culmination of weeks of tension, hope and struggle. Everyone present knew they were about to witness something extraordinary. For Jacob, this moment was a turning point, a culmination of his steadfast guardianship. As the first turtle pushed its way out of the shell, a collective gasp echoed through the crowd. The tiny creature, wet and blinking in the sunlight, was a marvel to behold. One by one, more turtles emerged, each greeted by amazed whispers and smiles. The sight of these new lives, so fragile yet determined, brought a profound sense of wonder to all who witnessed it. Experts on site quickly identified the turtles as a species never before seen in the region. Their uniqueness added to the already palpable excitement. Photographers clicked away, capturing the first moments of these rare beings. Discussions buzzed about the potential ecological and scientific implications of the discovery. Jacob, standing amidst the excitement, felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. Biologists and environmentalists quickly recognized the significant ecological value of the hatching. They lauded Jacob for his efforts in protecting the eggs, acknowledging that his actions had led to a remarkable scientific discovery. The farm was now not just a place of agriculture, but a site of crucial ecological importance. Jacob's role as a protector of these creatures earned him respect and admiration from the scientific community. The community and media hailed Jacob as a hero. His story, from the discovery of the eggs to their dramatic hatching, was a tale of perseverance and care. People praised his dedication to preserving nature's wonders, even against great odds. Jacob, who had always seen himself as a simple farmer, was now celebrated as a guardian of nature, a role he had embraced with humble determination. In the wake of the hatching, a collaboration formed between authorities, environmentalists, and the community. They agreed to designate Jacob's farm as a conservation area. This decision marked a new beginning for the farm, transforming it into a sanctuary for the newly discovered turtles. The agreement was a testament to Jacob's efforts and the collective will to protect and preserve nature's gifts. Jacob worked closely with environmental experts to create a suitable habitat for the turtles. They integrated the new sanctuary with his existing farming practices, striking a balance between agriculture and wildlife conservation. Ponds were constructed and natural vegetation was encouraged to grow. The farm was evolving, becoming a place where human agriculture coexisted harmoniously with wildlife. The farm underwent a transformation, becoming a model of sustainable coexistence. The fields of crops stood alongside the thriving habitat of the turtles, each benefiting the other. Visitors came not just to see the rare turtles, but also to learn about sustainable farming practices. Jacob's farm became a symbol of harmony between humanity and nature, a living example of balanced stewardship. Jacob's dedication to protecting the eggs and nurturing the turtles led to a legacy of conservation and environmental awareness in the community. Local schools started educational programs in collaboration with the farm, teaching children about wildlife conservation. Jacob's story inspired others to take action in their own communities, spreading a message of environmental responsibility and care. As the story comes to a close, the future of Jacob's farm shines bright. It stands as a beacon of environmental harmony, a place where nature and agriculture thrive together. The legacy of the mysterious eggs and the rare turtles continues to inspire and educate. Jacob looks to the future with hope, knowing that his farm will continue to be a haven for life in all its forms, a testament to the beauty of coexistence and the power of one man's commitment to nature's wonders.